All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Laurel Bellman, and I'm going to be moderating this session entitled Beyond Land Acknowledgements, Considerations for Allies. Our presenters are Mike and Ron Jetty, and they are briefly going to introduce themselves and then provide their presentation. And then we'll have some time at the end for questions. So please feel free to drop any questions or comments you might have into the chat, and I'll go ahead and read those out to Ron and Mike. Just a note that we are recording this presentation and an accessible video of it will be available for viewing on the IT Professionals website in about a week or so. And with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Ron and Mike.
Padamayaye, Laurel, thank you very much for the opportunity here today. I'm Ron Jetty. I'm the director of our Information Technology Academy. That's housed here at DO-IT at UW-Madison. And when I spoke with Laurel some weeks ago about this presentation, it was an honor to be approached about considerations for allies moving beyond land acknowledgements. And since it's a rare opportunity that I have to do a co-presentation with my brother, it's been a long time. So I'm pleased here and proud to have my brother co-piloting with me. So he works at, well, I'll let Mike introduce himself. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I'm Peto Aste Yuha from Montana. Hello, my relatives. I wish you a good day today. And yeah, I'm Ron's younger brother and just honored to be a part of the presentation. And so thanks for coming to our session. But when I greeted you, I said, Hamataki, and that means hello, my relatives. And when Ron and I were younger, our dad said, always greet people as relatives. And we asked him why. And he said, well, that way you can hit them up for cash later on. So that's an old Indian trick for you. So with that, Ron, go ahead.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, Mike will fill you up with these jokes all day if you get him started. So yes, we're tribal members ourselves. Actually, our tribe some years back sent to all the tribal members a tribal history book, and we've got these backgrounds behind us here, the ways map going, and that's where our tribe story kind of shows this migration west here. But what we wanted to do a little bit of time here is, how do we get, first of all, let's look at our land acknowledgement statement. So we have this on campus, and many of our campus colleagues here, you probably perhaps have one of these on your own website. So we're, this one that I'm showing here now is the one that's on the Bascom Hill, letting individuals who visit that marker know that the University of Wisconsin-Madison occupies Ho-Chunk land, ancestral Ho-Chunk land, a place their nation has called the Jope since time immemorial. In an 1832 treaty, the Ho-Chunk were forced to cede this territory. Decades of ethnic cleansing followed when both the federal and state government repeatedly but unsuccessfully sought to forcibly remove the Ho-Chunk from Wisconsin. The history of colonization informs our shared future of collaboration and innovation. And today, UW-Madison respects the inherent sovereignty of the Ho-Chunk Nation, along with the 11 other First Nations of Wisconsin. So these markers, this movement swept swept Indian country, or places where institutions occupied, and so across higher ed, we've seen land acknowledgements. The Madison Metropolitan School District here now has markers that will be up on every property of the school district has over the next few years. They're doing that. But beyond that, you know, what else can we do besides putting markers in place? I'm first going to throw this back to Mike, though, about we've got time immemorial here. What does that really mean?
And Ron, I'll offer up the song before we go on the slide. So maybe go back to our other slide there. Yeah. And so Ron and I had talked about opening this up with a song. And so there are songs that acknowledge the land. And so I thought I'd sing to you a very, very old song that just honors this land that we're on. And tribes all across the United States have these kinds of songs and a very sacred relationship with the landscape. Like in Dakota, the word for the earth is Unchimaka. It's our grandmother. And so this song is referred to the Unchimaka Rowan. So I'll offer this up as a way to honor the landscape. Ya 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 And that's just a song to honor the earth and do whatever we can to, stand up for our grandmother and to keep her healthy. So I just wanted to share that.
Right on, Mike.
So Ron, should we go into that next slide then?
Yes, here we go. So now we're back to this slide 3 after we talked about the markers.
Yeah, so since time immemorial, Ron mentioned that. So how long have tribes been in the United States? And some of you probably grew up, learning about the Bering Strait theory that 12,000 years ago, folks migrated across that Bering Strait. And yeah, that migration probably happened, but it was, but how long have people been here? And like in Montana, we have some new social studies standards, and this is one of them, talking about new archaeological evidence and how it shapes our historical understanding. And so what you're seeing here are actual footprints that are 23,000 years old that were discovered in White Sands National Park in New Mexico. And so, that's way older than that 12,000 years. And they recently found evidence that suggests folks have been on this continent for 37,000 years. And I guarantee you we're going to find stuff that's way older than that too. And so, we're always discovering new evidence, but thinking about these folks that were here 37,000 years ago, I'm sure they had songs just like the one I sang to you, honoring this landscape and thinking of the earth as a relative. And so, and then looking at these footprints, it reminds me of something else our dad used to share. He said, you should never criticize someone until you've walked a mile in his moccasins. And Ron and I asked Dad about that, and we said, why? And he said, well, that way he can be a mile away, plus you got his moccasins. So just throw that one out there. So go ahead, Ron, take it to the next one.
So this is the way. So I just want to start here. We're going to go through some resources here. Part of this is, of course, we know, and you're here, everybody's here because you're interested in what does allyship look like? What does it look like to be a supporter? We want to move. We've got these markers all around, and what else do we do with that information? So one of the things to remember is we have our Indian nations here in Wisconsin are separate sovereign nations. They have their own forms of governance, language, traditions, customs, and heritage. And when you visit those locations, you're going to learn a little bit about each unique tribe's ways of doing business and ways of living with their citizens, with traditions, be it year round. And so we have some fantastic resources here in Wisconsin. The recommendation that Mike and I have for you today is to be a good ally is just to have a willingness to learn and a respectful way of being, so that when you go visit to support a native-owned business or go to tour a tribal a site to line up a tour that way, and we're going to show you some resources of how to find that. But showing up in a respectful manner with a full heart will get you a long ways. And that's about as complicated as it gets, to just show up respectfully with a willingness to learn about being neighbors in community with one another. So this is a fantastic website called The Ways. Some of you may have seen this. This map behind me is from the ways as well. I have one of these up in my office, and if anybody wants one, I'd be happy to help get that lined up too. So I know Laura will keep a list here of interest on that. And thanks for capturing those questions that might come up too, Laurel. So if we look a little bit at the Ways here website, when you go onto this site, and it's hosted by PBS Wisconsin, so we can see here language immersion. This young woman is from St. Croix up north. Here's a gentleman from Mole Lake, and this is about the wild rice, Minoman harvesting wild rice. That's his story. So you get all these first-person testimonials from Wisconsin indigenous folks from various tribal nations here in the state of Wisconsin. Spearfishing. There's the Oneida Nation Lady Thunderhawks. Ms. Miller is a clan mother from Stockbridge, Muncie, Mohican. So this is a great site. And again, this is stories. There's map on here. This is all focused on Great Lakes Native culture and language. A fantastic website, appropriate for all ages. It's really meant to, you know, a lot of this is done with in schools as well. So, I got to get to the next slide. There we go, sorry. Okay, so this is from the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction website also. So there's a link on here to every tribal nation in our state of Wisconsin. And so you can explore the site. DPI also has some other information on a reference book about the Wisconsin State Tribal Relations Initiative. And native tourism in Wisconsin. You're going to see some resources there later in the presentation. Oh, sorry. Okay, Mike's going to talk a little bit about Montana's Office of Public Instruction, the partner site of our Department of Public Instruction's effort here.
Yeah, so in Montana, we have a similar law to what you have there in Wisconsin. Wisconsin, you have Act 31, you know, that talks about incorporating an inclusive perspectives. But in Montana, we have similar legislation called Indian Education for All. And it requires school districts all across the state of Montana to learn about American Indians in a culturally responsive manner. And so like you guys attending this workshop, you're actually fulfilling Montana's law, you know, to learn about American Indian issues. But if we think about American Indians, and this is what we really try and promote here in Montana, there are four basic themes of diversity, culture, history, and sovereignty. You know, those tribal nations in Wisconsin are very diverse. They have unique cultures, languages, ceremonies, connections with the landscape. You know, their histories might differ a little bit from each other's, but, you know, different historical narrative. You know, like out here in Montana, you know, you probably grew up learning about the westward movement, but out here, those guys call that the Eastern Invasion. You know, and you probably learned about Lewis and Clark. The way we present Lewis and Clark here in Montana is how many tribes discovered those guys coming up that river lost. You know, just a different narrative on our country's history. And then the last theme is sovereignty. You know, tribes are sovereign nations, and that's really what makes Indian people unique from any other cultural group, is that members of federally recognized tribes, we have a unique legal and political relationship with the federal government. And like we promote Wisconsin's resources on our website too. We want to share all these indigenous perspectives. So it's fun to get to present here with Ron. So if you get a chance, check out our website if you're interested in learning about Montana tribes. So back to you, Ron.
Thanks, Mike. So next we have to show you here, this is a marker that is up by Mendota Health Institute, a marker of an effigy mound. And so here's we have actually this this carving right here. This is about 1.5 blocks from my home right here. It sits above Lake Monona. But Madison has a great many effigy mounds to visit. And I would really recommend that. It can be powerful to see. We've got some at Governor Nelson Park, Indian Mound Conservation Area in McFarland, Pheasant Branch Conservancy in Middleton. Have some. The particular one that was on that previous page is the largest bird mound in the world. That's right here in Madison. So in this website, you can see when you visit the link, and Laurel's got and that's got all these links that Mike and I are going through here. You'll be able to set up your own visit, a tour there to see the mounds. And then going a little further out, okay, Native Travel Wisconsin. So this is on travelwisconsin.com. Some of you may have set up done some other vacation research there, but it's really great. They've teamed up with Native Tourism of Wisconsin to set up a guide to experiencing and honoring Native American culture. So you've all come to the session today to think about doing that. And this is a great spot to help you get started with that. So this site right here on Travel Wisconsin will help you. First of all, there's a nice map here so you can see all the Wisconsin tribal nations. And it lists them again. Another link to the website there. And then there, of course, if we did a poll here, we probably could have set that up and said, name a tribal industry. And I bet many people would have said the casino. And that's absolutely a correct answer. And in fact, in several counties in Wisconsin, it's been a while since I heard this, but I think it's like 13 counties in the state of Wisconsin. Tribal nations are the largest single employer in the county. And so it's a huge economic generator, for the people there with jobs and everything. But it also helps the neighbors, in the surrounding communities as well. So, but there are many other Native-owned businesses out there to visit, and other sites that are curated that you can respectfully visit here. And you'd be more than welcome, as I said, showing up as respectful, interest in learning. That will be, somebody might tease you a little bit, similar to what Mike's joking about there, but it'll be in a good way to, show up respectfully and learn about your neighbors here. So the Oneida Nation Museum has a wonderful museum in De Pere. The Menominee Indian Tribal Cultural Museum in Kashina is fantastic. There's also an Ojibwe Museum and Cultural Center up in Lac du Flambeau that's fantastic. So here's a few links, and I know we're limited on time here, so I'm just going to give you a little tour. And then there's things in here on there's more information about the effigy mounds. Of course, there's casinos. Some of you may like to golf, and you can go golf on a Native-owned golf course if you'd like to do that. And perhaps the best way, or one of the really great ways to see how traditional practices are carried forth in modern times is by visiting a powwow. And you can see a whole schedule right here on this site. They're all over. I would recommend, by the way, anyone that has not been to the Menominee Reservation to see the Indian Bowl there. They have a unique powwow grounds. It's absolutely stunning. The first time I saw it, my jaw just about hit the ground. First of all, it's in the forest, but it's a natural bowl. And so the dancers are down below it. You could not improve upon what the creator did in creating that powwow grounds, but it's incredible. So there's some other businesses and attractions here. Red Cliff Fish Company, that's way up north. That's kind of where I'd like to be right now, up by Lake Superior. I hope to get up there towards the end of the summer. but yeah, lots of Native-owned businesses here as well that you can visit. So that's one great way to support, you know, Beyond Land Acknowledgements, is just by visiting Native businesses and also learning about the culture by visiting the various communities that we have here in Wisconsin.
Hey, Ron.
Yes.
I'll just throw this in there. If you're interested in learning about powwows and the different types of dances, we have a powwow guide, your guide to understanding and enjoying powwows, on our OPI website. So if you want to learn like what kind of dance that is you're seeing right there, you know, men's traditional, or the person right behind that other guy is, you know, grass dancer. We have a guide that explains all those types of dances and what they are, and the symbolism behind them. So it's another resource.
Idea, Mike. That's great. We can share that with Laurel, and she can also get that out in the conference resources. Thanks, Mike, for that. Good suggestion. So let's see. I'm going to have that. Here we go. Sorry. Okay, so we've talked about respectfully visiting, maybe visiting some Native-owned businesses. Another thing that some folks might want to consider is through charitable donations. And so there's a variety of organizations out there, depending on what kinds of things you'd like to support. The Indian Land Tenure Foundation, they're based up in the Twin Cities. They do some fantastic work. And they have a foundation as well. So this is about serving American Indian nations and people in the recovery and control of their rightful homelands. You can see a little bit more about this. We're going to go quickly because I know we're going to run out of time here. Another site is the Native American Rights Fund. One of the things that always comes up at this time of year, and you probably have seen this in I think we see this in Inside Higher Ed, there's always stories on it this time of year. Students that want to wear eagle feathers and regalia at graduation. Mike's done some of that work trying to convince school boards to allow that in the job he has. NARF works on that kind of, those kinds of issues, graduation eagle feathers, but also protecting historic sacred sites like Bears Ears out west. And then a very important thing they're working on is the tribal child welfare. Actually, there's a case in front of the Supreme Court now that many Native folks all over the country are worried about the Supreme Court's ruling, because it could be very disruptive to Native parents. So these are the kinds of things that NARF works on for those interested in supporting that kind of work. The American Indian College Fund is a wonderful resource. And so this will obviously just support Native scholars across the country. They have given out, you can see here, almost 154,000 scholarships since 1989. That's a fantastic way to and then we'd be remiss if we didn't include here the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. There's a big focus here on missing and murdered Indigenous women. You may see this, though you might see those of you that attend the powwow on campus, a Wunkshik powwow or the MATC powwow here, may see folks with buttons on with this MMIW. That's what that acronym is, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. So that's a huge issue, and you can read more about that on that website. And there's ways for the donate button there. And then a little closer to home, I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't say that you could also donate to the Information Technology Academy. We have our program, and we have 2 tribal sites, one in Lac du Flambeau and one in Oneida, and we have an account at the UW Foundation. So we get a variety of sources. We're really blessed to have central funding with campuses support and our partnership with the People program. But there's a lot of things that we need to do for our students that we're not allowed to spend state funds on. And to really give them a rich experience, we're able to do that through private donations. And so you may want to consider that as well. And then there's a wonderful thing here. And if we have a lot of interest on this amongst our participants in this, and maybe I should just ask, has anyone in our session right now, have any of you been on the First Nations Cultural Landscape Tour?
I'm not seeing any hands, Ron.
Okay, it's been around for a while. I think you would, everybody would love it. You can see on this page here, and this gentleman that you're seeing there on the far left there, well, he's all across there. Aaron's got it flanked. Aaron Birdbear, our friend who used to be the tribal relations director for the university, but when he started this tour years ago, he was the American Indian curriculum consultant over in the School of Education. And he gave hundreds of tours. Omar Poehler now has taken over that since Aaron's retirement. But we have many mounds on campus and many other significant sites that are covered on this tour. It's wonderful. Yeah, there's Omar right there. He's on the shores of Lake Mendota there. Looks like he's outside Dejo Paul there. So this cultural landscape tour, it was set up. They set it up with the principles for anti-colonial curriculum. So it's focused on place, presence, political nationhood, power, perspective, and partnership. So those themes are weaved through the tour. I can reach out to Omar and maybe set up a group tour for conference participants who are interested in doing so. It's a very meaningful and excellent way to get to know our beautiful campus and all the history that indigenous folks have in relation with the sites on campus prior to all the development into the big campus we have now. So that's kind of what we had for right now. Mike, I don't know if you had any closing comments you wanted to say about the just being in place with the earth or whatever, but these mound tours, these self-guided tours, tribal visits, those things could be very meaningful. I don't know if you had any closing comments. Otherwise, we got time for questions.
I guess one quick closing comment is, thinking about the landscape as our relative and how we're all equal in this, like, a living being entity, and how can we maintain good relationships with our relatives, and just getting to know each other and opening up your hearts and minds to some knowledge and having new experiences. So that's a big part of it. And so I'll just open it up to some questions, I guess, now, and then I know we had an idea for closing here too. So anybody want to throw out a question? We got a few minutes left. Or is there anything in the chat, Laurel?
Not anything in particular. I think you went through so much amazing information. I think, at least speaking for myself, that was a lot to take in. My mind is just like, oh my gosh, there's so much. Maybe we'll give folks just a few minutes. I think there is a lot of interest right now in taking the landscape tour. So yeah, I think that might be something that this group might be interested in doing. So perhaps you can maybe message you, Ron.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
I will, Laurel. I'll set that up. I can, if I get a list of folks that are interested, I'll reach out to Omar Poehler, and we'll get a special one set up for the IT professionals that want to do that.
All right.
If you're interested in coming to visit Montana, feel free to reach out to me, and I can put you in touch with some, resources out here to go visit Indian country. So I think we wanted to offer up a little thank you song to thank you for attending this session. And, since this is a technology conference, I got to share at least one tech joke. But do you know what R2-D2's favorite snack is? Computer chips. So
there you go.
With that, I just wanted to share a song. This is a thank you song, and to thank you for taking some time out of your day to attend this session, and just opening up your hearts and minds to thinking about connections to the land. So anything to add before I start this out, Ron?
No, that's perfect way to end, Wash Day, right. And thank you. Yes.
Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, well, hey, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, oh, well, That's just a thank you song for this good life that we have, and to thank you for all taking time out to be here with us today. So.
Thank you. This was fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. This was a great presentation. I think everybody here learned a ton. So thanks again.
Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Mike, thank you for busting the drum out. Always good to get some songs here to end the week. Everybody have a super day. Laurel, thanks a lot for all your support here through this whole conference setup here.
Yes. Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you again. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Here all.